Hello and welcome to episode 44 of our Conversation to Connect. Let's Get Real Talk, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. At Exceptional Connections, we offer intentional and innovative solutions to boost your business. Each month, we nominate a different member of our community to have a meaningful conversation with. So be sure to make yourself comfortable with a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice. Take notes, and of course, be sure to add comments to the chat box and engage with us until we open the conversation. So around the 30-minute mark, I'll unmute the lines and invite our listeners to ask questions, share their ahas, epiphanies, and enter into our thought-provoking conversation. So the inspiration of our bi-weekly Conversations to Connect, Let's Get Real Talks, is to create powerful conversations. And we desire to be relevant during these challenging and uncertain, crazy times that we've been through, and to support our community to make an impact in the world and, of course, stay connected. So as we get started, I invite you to set aside distractions and invest your attention to the conversation that's about to unfold. Look for just one idea that you can take away and put into action so you don't cheat yourself out of the time you've invested here. Our Conversation to Connect this week is with Nicole Lux Ritchie from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Welcome, Nicole.
Hey.
Nicole and I are going to be talking about detangling your digital office. And before we dive into this intriguing conversation, I really want to take a few minutes to introduce Nicole to our listeners and her passion for not letting technology bully us. So here we go. So Nicole Lux Ritchie comes to us as a recent immigrant to Canada. And prior to that, she was a multi-generational, deeply rooted native of Western Washington, who often needed watering. So she began her journey tackling technology for small business owners as a support representative during the pioneer days of online banking. And she's owned and operated several small businesses, ranging from multi-level marketing to brick and mortar to service-based. And as a technology guru, productivity consultant, and speaker, Nicole has enjoyed over 2 decades of working with small businesses, solopreneurs, and tech-shy individuals to start where they are, use what they have, and do what they can to build sustainable businesses and technology best practices. So Nicole can bridge the gap between technobabble and regular human speak, right?
Yep.
Again, she currently lives in Edmonton, Alberta, with her husband and 2 young adults, 2 cats, and has been learning to walk in the snow. So
Yes.
welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always fun to hang out with you, whether in
super
person or
fun.
virtually.
Yes, it is super fun. So, hey, before we dive in, share with our listeners a little bit more about your journey that got you to where you're at now, and passionately helping people to stand on their own against all the technology craziness.
The mighty forces of tech. Yeah. So first off, I've always been a tinkerer. It's like, I'll poke at something. Why does this work this way? Why doesn't it work anymore? Taking things apart, putting them back together, that sort of thing. And so years and years ago, my grandmother, she was 82 at the time, said, "Hey, can you teach me how to use this computer thing?" And she says, "You come over every week and I'll, make you and the baby lunch," because I had a little one at the time, and I'll give you $20 to come and teach me how to use a computer. So we spent about a year, once a week. We would just sit, and whatever it is that she was trying to do, we worked on, and we wrote notes, and we, tried things, played with them. And she says, "Well, you're really, really good at this. You should do it for other people." So I marched my little self over to the nearest retirement community and asked if any of their residents needed computer tutoring. And the activities director said, well, I don't know about tutoring, but do you want to teach a class? And of course, my back of my head says, no. And then the front of my head said, okay. And so I started teaching at that retirement community, once a week. And we would teach things like how to use the mouse and how to play solitaire. And so it really, I really started teaching and doing tech at the very, very beginnings of how do you turn the dumb thing on, and what can you do that won't break it. And so from there, the growth of my people learning new things, and then also me having more confidence that I was actually offering useful information to people. I started assisting small business owners with kind of tech admin stuff. And then when I moved to Issaquah in 2012, I sort of merged the two. And so, I had been doing just admin stuff for small business owners. And then I shifted into training small business owners on the foundational technology. And so I love cleaning out email inboxes. That's like my favorite thing to do. And then organizing files. And it's interesting how with the computer stuff, we can do a lot of things without knowing anything. You just click all over the place, and eventually it sort of does the thing. And you're good to go for a while until something else blows up. And I found that my business owner clients, they're just moving so fast. They want to get this thing done, they got to get this done, and they just do it enough to make it happen. And so the forward path is usually happens, but the back end is a big mess. And then eventually they hit a roadblock and they're like, it used to work and I don't know why it wasn't working anymore. And so figuring out how to untangle that and how to set things up in the back end so that you can keep running in the front end has been what keeps me really energized in what I'm doing. So there's a very long answer to your question.
No, I love that. I think it's so important to kind of understand how people got to where they're at. It's always intriguing and fun. And, it tells a lot about you as your personality. So let's dig in just for a minute, because I'm just curious, does your body fit with what you do? Because in most cases, if you really dig in and ask people what they do and how they got there, it usually does make sense.
Yeah, I'm very well suited to what I do. I'll often even be I tend to be introverted. I am I guess a social introvert, and that I do fine in social situations, and I like people and I make friends well and easily, but I'm an introvert. And so if a problem comes up, whether someone will say, oh, why is my phone doing this thing? I would much rather go take the phone and fix the thing than chit chat around the room. So my tinker nature seems to be.
You're a doer.
I'm a doer, and not so much. I think a lot of us are doers, and I'm a doer thinker, but I'm a tinkerer is what I put it. It's that, okay, I'm thinking about this thing. I want to try this. I want to try that. And it might or may not be, a productive doing, because I have broken things in my tinkering. And so for the most part, I very, very rarely break my clients' things, because I don't try things until it's like, well, let me try it on my own before I mess with your stuff.
Yeah. And you're so good at that, because that's one thing that I appreciate about you all the years, and having you come and speak to our community, is that you really do the background work and tinker and really try to understand the inner workings of what's going on. The reason I asked about your personality is because since you love cleaning out inboxes, are you a minimalist in real life as well?
I am. They say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it is a bit true. I actually go into almost everything that I do with a mindset that I will have to do this thing again. I recently moved to Canada, as we said, and prior to that, I moved like 4 or 5 times. My husband and I got married, and so I moved from my little apartment. Well, first I moved from a 4-bedroom house to a little apartment back in 2012, and got rid of a ton of stuff. And so just that strategy of minimizing the right things, because you're always afraid you're going to use that thing, and you always need that thing that you threw away. Same with even deleting emails and whatnot. There's always going to be one that you wished you had, but that's just but you get through it. I'm gonna admit something that you'll probably all be very horrified by. So in my process of 2012, going through a divorce and crisis and whatnot, I wanted to severely rearrange my email situation. And I had an email that I've been using for like 15 years. And somehow I probably would know exactly what I did if I could go back in time and watch myself. But somehow I managed to delete all of my emails older than 2012. Just gone, deleted, run away. It was devastating it was devastating for about 2 weeks. And then I realized I didn't actually need any of that. There was a few that are like, oh, I wish I still had that one, but I ended up not needing it. And so that, and then also the severe decluttering with leaving that larger home allowed me to just be a lot freer with minimalization. And with technology, email, you can be a minimalist and still keep all your stuff. As long as you've got the digital space for it, let's get it out of the way so that you don't have to wade through it to get to the screwdriver that you need. Yeah, my husband recently found out that we went through our tools and we got rid of the wire cutters, and we got rid of the crimpers, and we got rid of the tiny screwdrivers. So, but they have stores for that.
They do. All right, well, let's jump in. And I think it'd be kind of fun to have you just set the stage and share with us, what is a digital office? When we're talking about detangling your digital office.
Yes. Oh, and I also wanted to add, I think I do remember, I remember we had a fun thing in our conversation preparing for this, and it was about my date night with my husband.
Oh yeah, share that.
Right. One of our favorite things to do, and I don't quite call it a date night, but we love going to the dump to get rid of stuff. And that's part of that decluttering. I think that's where we went on that topic of how do you declutter and minimalizing. It's we go to the dump and we call that a date. And then we go out for lunch.
That's definitely noteworthy to share, because it gives us a little insight into your personality.
Right. Yeah.
But that's part of the whole thing with cleaning your email, right? It's not just physical stuff, but it's digital stuff as well that can kind of hang over us. So that's hysterical. I love that.
Yeah. And the freedom of getting rid of stuff. So yeah. And to your question about the digital office, I use the term digital office for basically lack of a different term. I've had people say that's a dumb name to call it, but what I mean in digital office is your computer, where you deal with your emails, your files, your calendars, and your contacts. And that also encompasses, your communication. So you might communicate with social messages or on Discord or Slack or all of these crazy apps that we have out there. But that communication that you do on your computer, how you manage the data that comes at you that you want to save for later, use for later, create for later, as well as the productivity that we're talking about when it comes to calendars and managing your time. And then of course, managing your contacts, making sure that when you want to connect with someone, you have the information to connect with them, and you know whether or not it is reasonably up to date, because it's never all the way up to date, because people move around and they change their names and they change their addresses and their phone numbers and their email, and nothing is static.
Right. So essentially, a digital office is how you manage your technology, right?
Right. The foundational technology. And I think the difference being, I have some accountant clients, and I have some designer home decor clients, and they'll use like AutoCAD and QuickBooks and these high-end programs. Those programs is not what I teach. I teach the ones that the majority of business owners need as their foundation.
Right. Okay. And then also with that, we can't go very far without saying it's all about relationships, essentially, even though it's data and even though it's technology, it's also, has to do with, really supporting and protecting relationships.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So let's dig in. What are the warning signs of a tangled digital office? I don't know if everybody can relate to that. Hi, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
Hey. Yeah. So you know that your digital office is tangly when certain things start to become habits. Like when you start to find that your email inbox is overloaded, that is probably clue number one. If you know that someone emailed you and you have to actually scroll several pages to find that email, or you can't find it at all, that's a sign that some untangling needs to happen. Another clue is when you're looking to save something on your computer and you freeze and you're like, where on earth should I save this? Or where on earth did I save this? When you find that these simple things that should be quick take a long time, that's a clue that your digital office is a bit more tangly than it needs to be. If
you don't have a clear process in your head of where, like, what the folder, the subfolder.
Right. And the thing is you can have, even with the processes, you could of course document, okay, I keep all of these things, in this, I have this 10-point list of how to do things. But keeping a digital office tidy and untangling is also deciding to clear away the clutter so that maybe you only have to go through 2 or 3 clicks to find the thing you want instead of 27. Yeah. And also knowing that, like when you open up your folder list on your digital office, if you've got 26 folders, that's 26 things to go through. Whereas if you can generalize those folder names, perhaps, and have 9 to 12 seem to be a good amount of folders to have when on that first screen when you're opening up your File Explorer or your Finder if you're on a Mac or your Google Drive, because you can glance at 12 folders and know exactly which one has the thing in that logical progression.
So I'm going to jump in and just ask a quick question here. In terms of like, I'm sure your philosophy, I've heard you share this in the past, is ongoingly be, cleaning out your digital offices. But do you find like during the summer, like now would be a good time to do it also? Because things sometimes in our businesses are a little bit slower. People are, camping and vacationing and whatnot. And so it's a good time to kind of roll up our sleeves, if you will, and clean things out in our digital offices.
Yeah, sure. Well, see, now I always think it's a good time, but I'm like happiest when I'm down a technology rabbit hole. And not everybody likes that, being down a technology rabbit hole. But the summertime is a good time to start really thinking through, okay, are the folders that I have in my computer the ones that I need? Are they general enough that I know, okay, this is, this folder is everything to do with my house, and this folder is everything to do with my business, and this folder is everything to do with the content that I've created. Are those the right folders for you to have? And then thinking through folders in your email system as well. And some of that requires a lot deeper thinking than just putting stuff away. Right. Building that system is a great summertime activity because you can kind of think through it, establish your plan. And then once you've established a plan, sometimes there's a very solid, crazy upheaval when you're transferring from your old system to your new system. And I've had some people with difficulties going from like, okay, now it seems messier because you're shifting away from one system that you had that didn't quite work, but you knew what kind of a danger, what kind of a dragon you were dealing with. to
Right.
something that will work better, but it's like, but I haven't got it in my soul yet.
Right. Well, and it reminds me of, we've all gone through having to clean out a room, right? Or clean out a drawer.
Oh, yeah.
And it usually gets worse before it gets better.
Yes, yes.
And
Luckily, the same strategies apply. It's just you clicking here and clicking there, and
Right.
it doesn't require nearly as much muscle to move files around.
Yes, I imagine having the piles, right? Give away, put away,
Yeah,
whatever. So
yeah.
So you're still working through that process. Okay, so for detangling emails, detangling files, calendars can be a little tricky too, right?
Calendars can be tricky, especially if you have more than one calendar. If you've got a paper calendar and you've got a digital calendar with this email account and a digital calendar with that phone. And so I find the most trouble with calendars is the variety of them. And so really the trick to that is to pick one.
Yes. Yeah, I was for years and years and years, I had my Franklin planner, carried the big dang thing around, and my husband kept encouraging me to switch to a digital calendar. It was like terrifying. It was like, oh no. And I've been doing that for, I don't know, 15 years now, and I'm still alive. And but I love color coding my calendars. I don't know if that's something you're big on.
I am huge on color coding your digital calendar. Yes, I've got actually have a whole game space on color coding your calendars and the strategy to use, because you ideally want to just glance at your calendar and know what you're doing that day.
Yes.
Do you need to put your little hiney in the chair in front of the computer, or can you put your hiney in the car and go drive to the thing? Where does your body need to be? And so that's generally how I strategize the colors.
Yes, and because I work from home from my computer a lot, and then of course, as we get back into real life, I guess, and can be able to connect with people more, I actually putting drive time in there.
Absolutely.
In my calendar.
Or prep time. Yeah.
There's a lot of times that I put it on my calendar and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be there.
Right. Yes. Oops. Yeah. Drive time, prep time. I know. I remember having that time with my mom and talking to her about, she's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then I'll be at your house at 10. And I'm like, you will not. You will be at my house at 10:30 or 11, unless you shift something, because you can't teleport directly to my house.
Right.
So yeah, that drive time and prep time, you do need some time to gather your notes for that call.
Before you get on a Zoom call or before you meet with the client.
Right.
So you and I talked about contacts as well, right? Making sure you dial in all your contacts and get them detangled. Because I know for me, sometimes I have duplicates. Oh,
duplicates are a nightmare.
Well, don't they have technology now that can, integrate them, and, but I'm always suspicious of them. I'm like, I don't want to lose anything.
Yes.
I'd rather do it manually.
You kind of do. And that's been the sticky wicket of contacts. They will duplicate themselves, and for good reason. And there's very good reasons why merging duplicates is difficult. Now, your Google contacts and your Outlook contacts, and I think Apple less so, but Google and Outlook have actually some pretty good ways of merging contacts, and it's best to do it at your computer on the contact page, where you can get to it from the Outlook app or from the Google Workspace. Because there isn't a software out there that's going to know that Shirley's address was Vancouver in 2012, and now it's in Tacoma in 2020, but she's going to go to SeaTac in October. These are things that your contact thing can't do. So I do definitely recommend with contacts, the best thing to do is to continually maintain the ones that matter to you. and I just kind of do a simple little thing, like, if I've got a little bit of time and I'm feeling wonky about my contacts, I'll just, pick the day and go through whether it's their first name or their last name list, depending on how you have your contacts. So today is July 6th. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F. So we're going to go deal with the Fs. So everybody whose last name or first name starts with F, and just go through and look. Okay, do we have 15 duplicates? Does everybody look reasonably up to date? And as long as your phone and your email contacts are synchronized, what you fix in your phone will fix itself on your computer, which is extra cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the idea of monitoring things on a, continual basis, right? Otherwise, it could be torture.
It can be torture. Yeah, because not everybody likes to go down the technology black hole for hours on end, but you could do it for 15 minutes and you can get a ton done. If you're very focused on, this is the thing I'm doing. I am looking for duplicates in my phone.
Or unsubscribing from your email. Just
or
give
unsubscribing from your email. Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So we also kind of talked about passwords, because I love your convention for passwords. We might be able to get into that a little bit more, but you have a brilliant, it actually saved my marriage, because my husband is very creative creating passwords.
Right.
And I tell him, something ever happened to you, I would never guess that. And he changes our major passwords. So since using your conventions, it's really helped a lot, although he still takes his liberties with the way we do it. But at least it's in the wheelhouse that I could figure it out someday,
Right. So yeah, so the passwords, in fact, I'm looking for my slide. This is one where it's easiest visually. Passwords are the number one technology frustration.
So if you could take, I know that we're doing kind of a general little chat here, and we're going to open it up for Q&A a little bit, but any of you that are on the line right now, this is the time to really pay attention, because she's got a brilliant convention to share with you, and she's going to kind of share the process. It's pretty user friendly and easy.
Yeah, let me get my slide up here.
And while Nicole's doing that, if you have any, I love the way Nicole calls this, like tangly digital office challenges, feel free to put them in the chat box to kind of jog your memory, because we are going to open up the lines. And that's one of the things we wanted to accomplish today, is whoever's on the line, benefit of really picking Nicole's brain and asking for ideas on how to be more effective. So feel free to put your tangly digital office challenges in the chat box.
Okay, so I actually have a worksheet for the passwords. So I'm going to put that in the chat. Make sure, where did I put my chat box? I got several screens, and so the chat box went somewhere. There it went. So here, if you want to click on this link that's in the chat box, and you can print out this worksheet, and I will share it here on the screen. So this password strategy, the trick is, because passwords are a nightmare, and they say, okay, you need to have a between 12 and 15 digits, you need at least one capital letter, one lowercase letter, you can't have the same password for everything, and you have to have a special character. These are a lot of things, and you're like, oh crap, I can't do all that. I have 300 million passwords, and I'm just going to make it all the same because I have to be able to get into it. And that's the truth. It's a secure password. If you can't get into your stuff, is not useful. You could be as super secure as Fort Knox, but if you can't get into it, it's not useful. It defeats the entire purpose. So what we have here is to predetermine what your password should be. And I do that using what I call the password pattern. And there's some other strategies out there, but this one's my favorite. And it's where you get to choose a word that you can identify, and I recommend that word be between 4 and 6 letters. You choose your 4-digit number, and you choose your favorite special character. These 3 elements will remain the same in your password. You'll have them in the same order, and you'll have those same exact things. The thing, however, that changes will be a thing that is related to the particular website you're going to. So in this, if you can see here from this worksheet, I've got some examples here. My special character would be love. My special number is 5309. My special character is the exclamation point. And then the website, I'm using the example of Google. So you would have, Google starts with GOO. Google's a great brand. GOO is associated with it. So you would have that in your password, in the actual password. And so in this case, choosing the order of my elements, if I were to go with word, then number, then special character, if I'm deciding that that's the order of my things, then I would have my Google password would be love 5309 exclamation point goo. My Microsoft password would be love 5309 exclamation point MIC for Microsoft. This also works. There are some things that, acronyms are very associated with the brand. You could use the 3-letter acronym for that. I can never have that example on the top of my head, but this strategy lets you know what should my password be, so that when you try it, if it doesn't work, then you can go in and you change it to be that, so that you can immediately know what should the password be. And this strategy has saved many a brain. And it's
saved
among
your
my
bacon, right?
Saved my bacon, yes. And there's other things that complexities.
Yeah, you can. You had some examples there. You can move the order too.
Yes, just keep it consistent.
Consistent.
Yeah, I like my word, then number, then special character. But other people like the numbers first, or the special character first.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, that's consistent, because you don't want to add to the complexity of, did I do the right order for Microsoft? Did I do the right order for Google?
Yes. So I can attest that this password pattern, process really does work. And, because you don't want to carry around a piece of paper with all your passwords in it. It's dangerous to do that, because if you lay it down, somebody has all your passwords.
Right.
But if you have the convention in your head, then even if it doesn't work, you could reset it to that and then deal with it later.
Yeah, and that's how I recommend even switching to this strategy. I think, as we had mentioned earlier, sometimes the switching is when it's really messy. With passwords, you determine what is your strategy, what is your password pattern. And then from here on, when you have the 5 minutes it takes to change a password, just do it in the moment. And then over time, as you forget your passwords, because we all have gone through the password reset process, because it's like, oh, screw it, I don't even want to think about it right now. And you'll do that, change it to what you now have determined to be your strategy.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. That's gold. It's a wonderful tip. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and again, feel free to add your questions, any tangly things that you're having to deal with in the chat box. So where should you start when you're ready to detangle your digital office? What's a good starting place?
Yes. So the starting place is always tricky. The majority of my clients and we start with email, because generally they're calling me because we need help cleaning out the email inbox. It's also kind of how I market. It's like, we're going to clean out the inbox because people can relate to that. But at the same time, I have had clients where that's not where we start. And so to start with your digital office, I have what I think is the coolest thing on the planet, which is my Rescue Your Digital Office game. All right, am I sharing the right thing? Yeah. So on my website at luxcentric.com, I have a game board. and I'll put this link in the chat. And I know that for some of you, you might not think this is really a game, but as you're working in your computer, if you're feeling like your digital office is tangly, these 16 things are very likely to be one of the culprits. And for most of you, the tricky one will kind of jump out at you, whether or not you feel you need to have a better system for capturing your tasks and all the things you do, or if passwords may be the thing that pops out at you that's getting in your way. We've got a space for that. The email system, and each of these little spaces have quick and easy, and they're getting quicker and easier as I continually iterate on them, ways to get started in getting that under control. And then, of course, I'm available if you want to schedule time for us to work on something together. And often 30 seconds into looking at someone's computer screen, I can tell them what is actually tangling them the most. So that's an answer of it depends.
Yes.
Lots more words.
Well, and what is the biggest pain point, right?
Exactly.
What's keeping you up at night?
Right. Or what makes you want to throw the stupid thing out the window?
Right. And in some cases, it could be the easiest thing. Some cases, it could be the most challenging thing. It just depends on what's going on in your life. Because it's nice to have a little momentum too. If you have something that's easy, like work on your passwords, okay, that'll take a lot off my head because now I have a convention and now I can slowly start making those changes. And you get a sense of confidence, like I can do this.
And my goal is that each of the spaces, and this is something I'm going to be implementing over the next couple of weeks, is that each of these spaces will have basically a 2-minute task. If you do this 2-minute task, it'll help. It won't solve everything, but it will help.
Right. But you have a plan. That's the
plan.
Thing. You have a plan, man.
All right. Yes, absolutely.
You got to work your plan. So what is the most irritating technology frustration for people today, do you find?
Well, I think we talked a bit about it being passwords. That seems to be the biggest thing.
Oh, really? The biggest? I would think more than email, right?
More than email, because often with the passwords, with the email, it's kind of okay, I know what to do with this. I just don't want to deal with it sort of a situation in some cases. But the passwords, you're like, I just need to do this one quick thing. It's like, what to do
when you're locked
once you're past this barrier that won't let you do a thing. So email's got its own frustration, but email is the frustration. You're not trying to do something else. Whereas you really wanted to just, log into your email to check your email, but you can't because the password says, And that, I think, it spikes up that frustration level.
Well, we have the conventions now, so
we have the conventions. We will not have to fight with passwords.
That's right. We're halfway through that battle. Okay, so let's go ahead and just add one more, and then we can open up the chat line here. So, what is the spiral upward philosophy of training that you talk about?
Yes, spiral upward. I got this inspiration in the shower once where we talk about the downward spiral into depravity and evil and whatever, but there's an upward spiral as well. And it's that, okay, I'm going to start doing this 2-minute task that I can do right now, right quick, with the mental capacity and the time I have available. And then next time I'm going to come back on that same thing at a higher level. So in the example of passwords right now, maybe you've already got a good or semi-good or could be better system of how you do with your passwords. And then, okay, we're going to implement the pattern. And then in a year or so, okay, then we need to implement a thing that allows you to change your passwords on occasion. Then maybe we'll implement a password manager. So I deal with that first spiral. What will help a bit in this moment? before we get into the great grand complexities, because I find myself as the biggest offender wanting to overcomplicate things. And it's in that overcomplication of things that holds me back. Whereas it's like, okay, what about a simple thing I can do that helps? Yes, I try not to overspew information, which is really hard because I want to tell you all the things. But the spiral upward philosophy reminds me that we will come back to it and we'll get more complicated later as we've mastered the more fundamental.
Right. It's not perfect, but it's, kind of getting your toe in the
Yeah,
in
it's
the
an
water,
improvement.
Right?
It's an improvement. And in all my presentations, we start with, we improve and then we maintain, and then we improve and then we maintain. And it's that spiraling upward.
Mm-hmm. Well, much better than downward.
Right. We don't want a downward
encouraging.
spiral. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's go ahead and open the line. So feel free and unmute yourself and raise your hand. And this is your opportunity to ask the technology guide guru here any questions that might help free you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Get on Detangle Your Own Digital Office. So Danny.
Hi, do you ever have any tips for reminding about your own appointments in the day? Do you like set an alarm, or how do you keep on task with that?
So that is a calendar situation. And so I personally have, and this will work with other calendars as well, but I personally have Google Calendar. That's my favorite calendar to work with. And you can go into the back end settings and you can have it send you a reminder, either as a phone app reminder, or it can send you an email, or it can send you a browser notification. I have my phone settings set to allow Google Calendar reminders. So that 10 minutes before the appointment, it bings me. And that has helped. And just simply having it in a digital calendar, and I keep my calendar tab open throughout the day so that I can glance at it. Which calendar brand are you using?
Google.
Yeah. So go into your calendar settings. Cyndi, do we have time for me to just demonstrate that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Really, so we
want people to come away feeling empowered.
Yes, empowered. So I'm going to share my screen here. And so this is my test account. And so I'm going to go to the Google Calendar. So here's my test calendar. And you can see I've got a variety of colors. There's these red ones here are my new appointments. And so on an individual appointment basis, if you go and edit it, you can add notifications. I have an automatic notification for 10 minutes, and this notification means it's going to bing on my phone. I could add another one if maybe I wanted, an hour notification, so that it would tell me an hour ahead and then 10 minutes ahead. And this is appointment by appointment. Let's just go ahead and do it. I have this set as recurring. If you want to have all appointments that you create automatically have this notification, you would do this in the back end settings. And then we go over here to notification settings, and it scrolls down. And so here we've got notification alerts. We can turn them on. And this desktop would be, I believe it comes through your browser. And then there's other alerts. And we've got.
So it says 1 minute before event. You had it.
Yeah, this one says 1 minute before event. And I have it set to 10 minutes. They may have moved the location of the setting because there's another spot. I think these are general for all of your calendars. So if it's, so this is the general for all calendars. And then when you go to the individual calendar, so your individual calendars are going to be here on the side. That will let you drill down even deeper for your event notifications right here.
Okay.
And so I've got my 10-minute one, and then you could add one.
So
you could also
that's
do-
nice, because if you have your color coding for your business meetings, that will give you a notice. But if you're doing something personal, you're not necessarily going to get the notification.
Sort of. I have my business and personal calendar as the same calendar, and I color code my appointments individually because that's how Google works. Color coding is different on an Apple calendar where you have different calendars,
Mhm.
but this setting is calendar related. So in my color coding, I do that by appointment only. So these notifications will be on all of the appointments, personal or otherwise. I just choose, okay, blue is my business color that I use, and
Mhm.
green is my personal color that I use. And brand new appointments show up as red so that I need to make a decision about them.
Mhm.
But those notifications are calendar specific. And here, if I turn off all of the calendars, I just have this testing calendar here.
Okay.
I hope that somewhat clumsy explanation made sense.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nice.
Any other
Okay. So
questions?
what other questions? Anybody have any other questions that they want Nicole to answer? Karen.
Well, I don't even know what email would count. I've had too many cooks.
Too many
And-
cooks.
And I have online scheduling.
Mhm.
And it's really important that when I calendar something, it blocks it out on my online scheduling so someone doesn't make an appointment.
Right.
And I really don't run into duplicates too much. However, when it's, add something to a calendar, I have no idea. And here's my biggest issue. This calendar and this calendar do not sync.
That
is the official must look at. If
That's
I
the
don't
must
have
look
my
at.
phone with me, I'm lost. I have not, no one else has been able to figure out how to sync them. And you think you could?
Yeah. I definitely think I could. So do you know which brand of calendar you're using on your phone?
No,
Are you using the Apple Calendar app?
I don't know.
So that would be our first adventure into solving that problem. It's determining, okay, what app are you using on your phone? Because that's your brain calendar. That's the calendar you want. So the goal is to make it that one synchronizes with the others. And so
Well, if you go into like calendars and choices, I have all
yeah,
that.
so you're using the Apple Calendar app.
Okay.
And so there's a couple different layers with that. So the Apple Calendar app, it's a program that can connect to Apple calendars, Google calendars, Outlook calendars, and a variety of other calendars. And then making sure that you've got the right one set that new appointments go on to is a very important aspect of that. And then there's other ways to bypass that calendar. Sometimes people
How would you
decide,
get into it when I don't even know what it is?
these are things that I definitely have experienced. So just off the top of my head, in a screen sharing for your particular calendar, my guess is that it is your iPhone calendar. It may or may not be hooked to a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or just iPhone itself. But one of the things that happens with the iPhone, and I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Whoops, not that one. That's my presentation notes so that I know who's here. Share. Looks like I closed my, there it is. Hold on, let me close that. I closed the tab, and so then sharing the screen doesn't work as well. There we go. So with the Apple, if you're using the Apple Calendar, you can access it on your computer with iCloud. So you go to iCloud.com and you use your Apple ID.
This needs to be on the computer.
Yeah, you can do this on the computer. So your goal in looking at you've got your phone calendar, you go onto your computer, go to any browser, enter icloud.com and sign in, and then it will want you to, let me do one of my test accounts. It'll probably want to authenticate you.
I love those.
And you'll go through the name of your first boss on my imaginary account.
I had one that asked me where I was born, and then it was the wrong answer.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, see, it doesn't like those ones. Okay, let me go back to the other one. I haven't done an iCloud account in a while. Speaking of passwords. Eccentric.com. Get my password on that. And then it wants to know that I'm using it.
So, okay, that I've dealt with. Yeah.
So we've got the 565-474. We trust this browser. We say done. So, and everything that I work with my clients, it's finding hoops and jumping through them. So your calendar here would be this, and this may or may not match your phone. So here you've got iCloud calendars, and these would be ones that are just with the actual iCloud attached to your Apple ID. So if all of your appointments are here when you log into the iCloud calendar, then that means you're using the Apple calendar system. And so you can have a variety of calendars in that Apple calendar system. If your appointments are not here, then you're connected a different way, and we would go and find that hoop and check it. Because your calendar, which depending on which one it is connected to, will determine what you see. Does that sort of make sense?
So when you work with someone, it would be like I would screen share what I've got. Is that what you're? Oh.
Yeah, I have a program that I use to do screen sharing with clients. And so a lot of times they'll tell me this thing has happened and I've never been able to work it. And so we get on the screen share, and then I say, okay, show me how it's working. And then I'll see what you're doing, and you'll show me how it's going wonky. And then we walk through these steps of, finding the hoops and jumping through them. So there's that. If your calendar is through iCal connected to a Google Calendar, you might be able to see it on your computer with the actual Google situation. Or if you're using the Outlook calendar, that's another calendar. So finding where the source of your calendar is going to be our first step in untangling a calendar situation. And it's also possible on the iPhone calendar app to have a bunch of different appointments on a bunch of different calendars that don't. So if you're finding your appointments randomly sync, that could be what's going on.
They do. For example, if you send me a URL invitation to,
Mm-hmm.
I love these now, the way they immediately show up on your calendar. And when I accept that, it will be on my iPad calendar and on the phone. I think it's when I add, I'm not even quite sure, but I think when I add an event on my iPhone, it doesn't make it to the iPad. Sounds like you and I have some work. I also do not know. The same way with my email, I have no idea what I'm using.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I did try to. Oh, yes.
One more confession. I am talking to you guys on my huge iMac. which I love using for Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't a clue how to use the damn computer.
We can work on that too. I think you and I would
I
have
don't
tons of
cut.
fun.
I mean, I've never worked. I mean, I do all my work now on my iPad, which most of the time works fine. But I only use this damn big clunky thing here. I love it for what we're doing right now because you guys are almost full size.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only thing I know how to do on the damn thing is to get on these Zoom calls. I get into
Yeah.
the email and it thoroughly confuses me. I hate the
Yeah.
threads.
Yeah. Yeah. We could do a lot. So I think I sent you an email.
Yeah, you did. I think I was
Okay.
trying to figure out how you would do it when I don't know anything of what I got. I've had way too many people fix me.
Well, I'm not, yeah. And I know that I can help. And I started with my grandmother who was 82 at the time and teaching her how to use the mouse. So if you know how to use the mouse, you're ahead. And we won't do anything that you don't understand. And I think that's, we talk about businesses and differences. And I'm definitely not high on my sales or whatever, but the difference that I generally come with, opposed to other technology people, is that I'm more interested in making sure that you understand what you're doing with the computer than I am in just doing it. And a lot of times the high techie people, the really brilliant, sons-in-laws and daughters, and is they go so fast and they just want to fix it for you. And you're like, okay, that's fine, but I won't be able to do it tomorrow.
Well,
because
I've
they go
had
so
a
fast.
bunch of IT persons and they each have their own idea, and that's my
Yeah.
problem. Which IT
Yeah.
person set up what? And my main issue, as I just said, is calendar. And then I am really trying to tame the email monster by using what you mentioned it earlier, different folders.
Folders, yeah.
And I can't figure out, and again, I know this is something you could do, where in the hell these folders are set up. I use the folders I have because it's all I have.
Mhm.
For
Yeah,
example,
we'll
one
definitely
is
start
client
with.
save. I don't know what that means, but if I remember that's where I'm putting the stuff I need to do, that works. But I would love to be able to put in and customize those. And again, something you could do.
Yeah, we could definitely, we would have a lot of fun together, I think. And I'm happy to call you or email, and we'll just chat and see if my style fits with you. I mean, it's possible that I'll remote in and
what I need. Let me ask one more. I guess everybody's gone. So Dropbox.
Yeah, I'm good with Dropbox too.
My issue is the naming conventions.
Mhm.
And my people, I say, who are no longer with me, their naming convention is to start out with a date or a year. So when it alphabetizes it, it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
It's in chronological order.
Well, how about the name of the document?
Well, we could definitely talk about how to rename things.
Wouldn't that be a novel idea?
That'd be fun. Yeah. So I think I only have your
I'd love to
email.
talk to you. We'll set something up.
Yeah.
So Karen, you might want to add your contact number to the chat box. Can you do that from your computer?
That I can do. Sure, I know how to chat box. You guys, come on. I may be 80, but
there you go.
Yeah, you know the things.
You're on the way.
What do you want to know from me?
So I have your email address, but I don't have your phone number. And I don't know if communicating with email is fine, but I think that having a chat to determine if my style is compatible with yours.
I don't answer my phone unless I know who it is.
Got it.
I made the mistake just a few minutes ago. It said Bothell, Washington. I thought, well, my client answered it. Oh, hi, Karen. Have you ever heard of Martindale Hubble? Yes. You're trying to sell me something. And no,
you're trying to sell me
something. Chat.
Yeah. Well, I always start with email and because my phone would be calling from Canada. So So, but yeah, we'll
yes.
schedule some time to chat, and we'll have tons of fun.
I think you can make my life easier.
That's the plan. That's always my goal.
And I'll figure out one of these days how to work this thing.
Yeah, that'll be on. We'll put that on the list.
I was just in love with this iMac, but I've always used PCs, and
Mhm.
now it's like somebody says, well, it's control, control and whatever. I can learn that.
Right.
Yeah.
Nicole's
Okay.
great.
Thank you
She's
for
really
setting
good at
this up.
explaining
Yeah, I
things,
appreciate
and
it.
like she mentioned, her main driving force is to being of service to people, not to further her agenda. So
Yeah.
I think
Make my
you're
life
going to be in good
easier.
hands.
Good.
Well, let's go
Great.
ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah, we had good times.
Yes. So for those who are listening to the recording afterwards, or even those who are still on the call right now, Nicole, just review again how people can take advantage of her complimentary 30-minute one-to-one screen sharing topic tackle.
Yes, yeah. So the topic tackle, I'll go ahead and show you and share. So my website at luxcentric.com is where all the useful information is. And then under services or under Connect, I have a topic tackle, which is what I'm going to be offering everybody today. So I offer a 30-minute topic tackle, and this topic tackle is basically 30 minutes where it's a screen sharing session. You show me what's going wonky on your computer, and then we will talk through it as to what we can do to make it less wonky. And so 30 minutes, we can get a lot done. And I love to offer these because it lets you know whether or not my style of assisting you is helpful or not. Because like Karen and I were talking, high techie people, they say high techie words and they go really, really fast. And sometimes that is not helpful in actually learning how to do the things that you want to keep doing. And so going to luxcentric.com /topic/tackle will get you directly to the scheduling page.
Looking forward to it.
Perfect.
I'll put
Or
it
they
in
could
the
just
chat.
go to luxcentric.com and go to your website.
Yep,
Check out your website.
luxcentric.com on the
Okay.
website.
Perfect. Well,
There's
thank you
the link.
again, Nicole, so much for being our spotlight speaker for June and for generously sharing your knowledge and the processes that you teach to our community. So really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for